Chickens are notoriously difficult to arrange. Sometimes I'll grab a little bit of chicken feed or some feed, something that they might eat, and if I found a great setting, put it in the area I want them to go to, or sometimes it's just good luck, good judgment, but also with the live photos with the Apple iPhone's fantastic. So this one I've had to do a little bit of Photoshop just to get the finished image how I wanted it. So let's see how I go. There's always a good saying, do you choose the subject or does the subject choose you? When we think with this one, I've always loved painting chickens, whether initially they were just tiny little chickens, barely bigger than a fingernail. But it was always great to, if you had a setting, if it just needed a little sparkle of light or colour or a point of interest, just to put a little chicken in. But where this is more of a real chicken. This is only a 11 by 14 board, so it's a decent sized chicken, or two chickens I should say. And as a kid, we used to have chickens and ducks, and I think we had a goat and a cow, and we grew up on a couple of acres, and father grew radishes, had a little old Massey Ferguson grey tractor. It's funny, I must have only been 3, maybe 4, but I can still remember it. And the interesting thing was how to start it. It didn't have a key start. It would actually have this kind of twisted crankshaft sort of thing that you'd put in the front, and you'd spin it, and you'd actually turn probably the starter motor over where a battery would have normally done that, I imagine. So this subject is super sentimental, but not only that, they're just great subjects. They like ducks, which I've been fortunate to paint, and finches, some of the Australian finches. They are just great subjects in themselves, and I can understand why people just want to say paint wildlife or certain just become animal painters. And I think the fact that they are such a good subject, we've got the ability, almost like, actually I should more say like a portrait or a figure in a landscape or a portrait, where we have eyes, nose, mouth. We know we've got tangible shapes to create lights, darks, where we've got the darks of the comb, light coming in on the top. At this stage, I'm just really blocking in those big shapes. It is so important, because if I had and I kind of thought to myself, you know what, I've probably got the chickens down a little too low, so I'm going to have to really kind of try and push them up a fraction, or be very careful with those lower, very foreground, bottom shapes and edges. And also I need to make sure that the left-hand one is definitely behind the right-hand one. But they possess really lovely light, and the feathers do also create a certain amount of movement, and it's almost subliminal movement as well. It's those small, little intricate shapes that I think really do power the overall. Almost like our brush mark, we can have big shapes and shapes in a good spot, but each mark is almost like a facet on a diamond or a gemstone. And I find like a jeweler that's cutting a gemstone, one kind of major brush mark in a strong visual area, focal area, can do us a lot of harm. So I'm always looking for not a static up and down, left and right. Unfortunately, we are limited to sort of more diagonal and slightly sort of swirling brush marks, say for grass and stuff, but we almost need sometimes, I believe, to go against the grain. So if it's a hillside, I'll be doing some brush marks, say might only be 10, 20%, but just so it doesn't become too visually predictable. Because I think predictability will lead to visual fatigue, and And as the old saying goes, if we can capture the viewer's attention for 3 seconds, we'll have them for a lifetime. Boy, I love that saying. And it was mentioned to me when I was about 22, 23 by a very good family friend and mentor, Terry Gawthorne. Actually he had a wonderful collection and had some paintings with chickens in, even though I was painting chickens prior to that. And I actually used to even sort of draw the shed that the chickens lived in, and my father even had some beehives. So I can remember as a 21, 22-year-old drawing the white boxed hives in front of the chicken shed, and which actually eventually became my twin brothers and my motorbike shed where we'd store and lock up our motorbikes, which we had the acreage there to ride them on. But before I think, and probably one of the strongest messages I think I can give with this painting is to draw them first. There's probably the only thing that I haven't drawn is a tractor maybe, but I've done trucks and cars, and but as a general rule, especially if you think there's a bit of uncertainty because every animal, creature, object does have a characteristic. So that drawing, so we eliminate colour, we're just going for line drawing, lights and dark shadows, because I definitely have had a little bit of a blind spot when painting sheep for some reason. So I drew them, and I've got a few good subjects of some sheep when I was in Tasmania last year, 23, which I haven't got round to painting yet, but I'll get there. Actually, that would be one that I think I might even do as a video for the channel. But actually, in taking my own advice, I may actually do a few little drawings first, just to see if that enhances my ability, my understanding when I come to the painting side. So I've mostly used about a 3/4 inch brush. Then I use the 1/2 inch Eclipse comber. All those two are Eclipse combers from Rosemary & Co. And this is, I think, the size 3 Master's Choice. If it's not a size 3, it's about not quite a 1/4 of an inch, so it's about 3/8 or about 4 or 5 millimeters wide. And this is a great brush for when I'm finishing off the intricate stuff, when it comes to, as I mentioned, even sheds and tractors and figures. It's just marvellous to be able to just get that, because they're fairly long bristle. We still have that longish brush feel, but we still have that overall brush feel. It's not like we're painting it at 2 speeds, 2 different brushes, and that can be a problem. You want the painting to flow nicely. An interesting thing happened with this painting that doesn't actually occur very often. A little bit like, say, a singer, when singing a new song, you get into a certain groove, that something is a little different to how you would normally sing. It's a certain different sound out of your voice. And with this one, it was more my brush mark. I noticed it happening and I thought, there's an instinct to fight it, but I thought, no, for this one, for the subject, I'll run with it. And the effect that I actually noticed was a slightly mottled effect, or mottling, and small shapes developing, almost like an opal, where you look at it and it has all those sort of beautiful inner little shapes. So that was something super fascinating, something that's that artistic endeavour that I think we always search for. So I was really thrilled with this one. Hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.